Oh, hello. Didn't know you were there. Funny, 60 years in show business, the first time I've ever been behind the camera. And I don't think it'll happen again. It's incredible, you know, being here is just unbelievable because this is where we made all of the Carry On Christmases, right here in the studio. Sid and Kenny and Peter Butterworth, all of them, bless them. And it's quite amazing because what's missing is the laughter. And that's when the studio, wow, used to rock. And it did too. Anyway, I'll tell you all about those happy days. Don't go away. This is where the television specials were made, the Carry-Ons, in Teddington Studios, in the very studio that I'm sitting in now. And to look around this empty studio fills me with very happy memories.
Soon Robin had merry men flocking to his forest den. Men like Will Scarlet and Friar Tuck, men who didn't give a fig.
One of the hardest things to learn in this business of ours, and there's quite a few, is the difference between doing a television show and a film. There is no comparison between the two. And I found this very difficult to get to know, but I was helped all the way through by Kenneth Williams and Sid James, and they were absolutely marvellous. Oh, it was wonderful. And I just loved it. I couldn't wait to get to the studio to make a picture.
Yes, Crapper. Brandy for the gentleman.
Oh, very good. For television, it was a matter of just walking into the studio and saying, right, are we going? Yeah, okay, go. And you did it. But with a film, you had to be very careful because Sid would say to me, no, don't move that way because they're shooting you on a camera on your left and you're looking to your right. So I had these wonderful instructors. It's very difficult when you do a film to get used to the fact that you've got no audience and you're actually doing your jokes to a dead area. And it was Gerald who used to say, no, 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 your audience is the camera lens. So when you do a comedy line, straight into the camera and do your line.
Dinner is served.
I think the Christmas one that we did, the Carry On, was great fun because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had some lovely characters to play. And I think that when we finished it and I watched it back on the screen, I couldn't believe it. It was great fun and it worked so well. And when that scene came on where we did the ballet dancing, and we were all dressed as ballet dancers and straight, no comedy. And Bernie Breslau to me in drag was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And of course, I remember Gerald saying to us, now, under no circumstances do I want any comedy. I want you to play it exactly straight. And because you're playing it straight, it'll be funny. And he was dead right. Nobody did a comedy action or anything. And when I watched it on television, I just thought, my God, how clever that was to say, don't try and be funny, you'll be funny because you're dressed up in drag. I look rather beautiful, actually, but we don't want to talk about that. It's funny going back now and looking at those films and the lovely actors and actresses that I had the honour to play, and I mean that, to play against. I think the thing that amazed me was Hattie Jakes, because Hattie was a very big lady, as we know, in very, very big indeed. But if she walked into the restaurant in the studio after we had a break to have lunch or whatever, you'd notice that every man in the room would be watching her as she walked across the room and sat down. She had an unbelievable femininity as well as an unbelievable talent. She was a joy to work with. The same with Sid, I suppose. He was a great character to work with and a very unselfish man. And I remember when we were doing a scene together and I was twitching away like mad, and in the rehearsal he said to me, "Look, how do I know when you've finished?" So he said, "You go on and on and on." So I said, "Right, what I'll do, whatever I'm doing, when I've finished, I'll say to you, 'Pardon?' And that means that's where you come in. And if you listen to a carry-on or watch the scenes with Sid and I, you will see that I've gone, pardon?
Pardon?
The ladies that we worked with in the carry-ons were a joy. I think it was such a wonderful opportunity to work with the lovely Joan Sims. She was an incredible lady. Whatever she was doing, whether she was in character or playing herself, it was superb, and she never came out of that character. So when she came on the screen, you knew exactly what she was going to do and say, and it was wonderful to be able to play against it.
I'm afraid of nobody. Nothing frightens me.
That's you, Robin Hood!
Yes.
And high time. Just where have you been these past 3 days?
Oh, you know, robbing the rich, giving to the poor.
A likely tale.
Well, I did cock a snook at the sheriff in Nottingham.
I knew it! Never a thought for me! Oh, no! Just so long as you can go around robbing and cocking. Oh, yes! It's all very well for you. But what sort of life is it for me? Well, I'm leaving you here. I'm leaving. I should have done it 20 years ago.
But you did do it 20 years ago, don't you remember? In the forest glade, there was a lover and his lass, with a hey and a ho and a nonny no.
But you never gave me a chance to get to the no.
Hattie and Joan, I think, were tremendous actresses, and it was a joy to work with the two of them.
Now, see what you've done. You've upset Ringworm.
I'm sorry.
Will that be all, Miss Harriet?
I sincerely hope so.
The other actress, I don't know if you know, is a young lady called Barbara Windsor. Quite a small girl, as a matter of fact. Well, in height. She was absolute fun, and we got on awfully well together.
Blimey, Eve, I've told you 1,000 times what I want for Christmas.
I know, Adam, but it's a very big step to take, you know.
Can't be that much to ask.
How do you know if you've never had it?
And the one thing that amazed me was she would rehearse with you right up to the time we went on the screen. So she would perfect everything she did before we went on screen. And I'd never done that because I grew up as an ad-libber and I still am. But if I ad-libbed with Barbara, it didn't matter. She would come into it perfectly.
I can't stand it any longer. I must have it.
Oh, all right, Adam.
Blimey, Eve, thank you.
An amazing lady. And I think that one of the well-known actresses of this country is Barbara Windsor.
We are going to have a wonderful party here with the goose and the schnapps there.
Bottle of Oppenheimer Bustenhalter. Yeah. And on Christmas tree.
I think one of the funniest things in the carry-on sequences was the fact that I actually had to look up to an actor. Now, I'm 6'3½", nearly 6'4", And Bernie must be about, was about 6'6" or 7. And for me, I would go, hello, and then suddenly I would go, oh, hello. And it was very hard to get used to.
Herr Oberleutnant, was ist das?
Bonbons.
Bonbons! Bonbons? This is too much.
A very clever man and a very quiet man. Not what I call offstage a comedy man. He was quite serious. But when you got on doing a scene with him, magic.
Tommy! Tommy!
Anybody here called Tommy?
Thinking back to the World War I sequence, the scene with Peter Butterworth was hysterical because he became a comedian when the camera was turned on. But in private life, he was a private man. But he and I were, as the Germans, it was hysterical.
Yeah. I'm wishing you a Merry Christmases.
Ja, und peace on you.
Not from up there, mate.
He kept saying, no farting, no farting. And I heard this, first of all, and collapsed in laughter.
No fartings. No what? No fighting. Oh. We come, make friends.
The person I haven't mentioned is Kenneth Connor, who again was quite a short man, and if he was in the scene with Bernard and I, we had to almost look down at the floor. But there was a man who, whatever character he played, it was superb. He never, ever came out of character. And he was a totally different person. It was like there were 15 or 20 Kenneth Connors, and each scene he played was, you couldn't fault it at all. And a lovely man too. We had great fun together. The difficulty, I think, when we were making a carry-on picture was not to laugh, because Gerald very, very rarely ever stopped anything. He left it in and expected you to get out of it. If you did laugh, you had to put in an ad-lib as to why you laughed. And it worked exceedingly well. Like where we were all sitting round the table doing those rhyming couplets. There was one part of it where for the first time ever Gerald had to stop it because we were in hysterics at each other. We were all giggling like children. And Gerald clapped his hand and said, cut. And then he came on the floor and he said, right, now shall we do it again properly this time? And will you keep your laughing to the screen in character? Thank you. And we did it again, and that's the one that you see.
Flew, right up your flue. The chimney sweep's visit is long overdue.
Coughing and choking with yards of bamboo.
The chimney sweep's poking his brush up your flue. Balls, banquets and balls.
Laughter and merriment filling the halls.
There is no reason to sigh as snow falls.
For now is the season for banquets and balls.
Funny, talking about 1972 and the Carry On Christmas, it was very cleverly written, and it was set round the table with us all in early costume. And I remember that I had this lovely character to play, the butler, Ringworm, which was great fun. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Tea, Miss Harriet?
Thank you, Ringworm.
This letter arrived from Miss Esmeralda, Miss Harriet.
Why did you not give it to me earlier, Ringworm?
Thank you, Ringworm.
And the next character that I played was the Demon King, which I loved playing that too, because I've never played that sort of part before. So to me, it was a touch of magic.
Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman.
Wrong pantomime.
I think the year 1973 was the last one that I did. And again, funnily enough, I played a butler, which for me was most unusual, especially with a name like Crapper. That was the butler's name. It was rather apt, actually.
I've done it, Sir Henry.
Stuck again, Crapper.
So am I, Sir Henry.
Yeah.
Could you help me, Sir Henry?
Are you ready, Crapper?
Yes, Sir Henry. Oh, thank you, Sir Henry.
Don't bow again, Crapper.
I remember the other character I played, which was actually set in the Stone Age. And it was, again, great fun. And I enjoyed doing that. And I think I sang in that one, if I remember rightly, which is quite an experience.
Goodwill henceforth from heaven to men.
and glory.
Here. No, you did it again.
Did what?
Sung a bum note.
Wasn't me, it was you.
Me? You sung fa when you should have sung so.
You know your trouble. Here you don't know your far self well in the ground.
I think that the television carry-ons that we did over Christmas will have a special place too, because they were most unusual. Again, they were made for television, and of course there was an audience there, which for the carry-ons, I've told you about the pictures, it was very hard to work to a camera and not to an audience. But in that 1973, I think it was, and they're still as funny now as they were then.
Good night, Mr. Sibley. Happy Christmas.
And a happy Christmas to you, Belcher. And I'm sorry for what I said.
Oh, thank you. Well. This shows you what Christmas does to some people, doesn't it? I mean, when else do you find such a genuine feeling of goodwill, friendship, and giving? What's going on here?
I'm giving you a ticket, sir.
When you get a crowd, if you want to use the expression, of talented performers, each one a specialist in his own right, together as a team, it's magic. And unfortunately, we don't have a team like that today. So this is why I think the carry-ons will hold their place, and we'll still be watching them when we're old and grey, which for me won't be long.